Well, hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome to my overview of Eden Crafters. So for those not across it, I do overviews on this channel. I have a look at the first 2 hours of a game because that's the Steam refund window. Steam says you can make up your mind about whether you want to keep a game or not in that time, and broadly speaking, I would agree and say that 20 hours in, you often won't change your mind about how you felt 2 hours in. So it's a short punchy video, keep it around 10 minutes, give you the broad strokes info, and then you can make up your mind on your own. Right, so what do we think about this? Well, first and foremost, I really enjoyed my time with it. I had to tear myself away late last night because I was kind of falling asleep, but when I got out of bed this morning and played some more to round out my few hours, I was very keen to jump back into it. So it has that addicting, grab you kind of component. If you can hear in my tone that there's another shoe gonna drop, there is, but we'll get to that. But on paper and in practice, what this game really is it's Satisfactory and Planet Crafter slammed together. And I can only really speak for myself, but I'm sure even people that are even watching this video and remotely interested in this game probably are fans of at least one of those. I know some people will be either or, and I'd be curious to hear from them. But I love both those games for both the different reasons, because they are kind of very different. They do tap your mind for sure, but Satisfactory is way more, automation throughput, whereas Planet Crafter is kind of a little bit more hands-on, picking up all the bits and pieces, very much not automation, at least in the early going. There's also like a touch of, maybe space engineers in here, at least aspects of it. The core of that game and where you go with it is very different, but some of the terraforming that's going on here, even your starting spaceship and the sort of blue-white color palette of the tile set that they've used for all the buildings and stuff. I don't know, it does give me these kind of space engineer vibes. So I'm trying to work my way through the thoughts because yes, it's fun. Yes, I enjoyed it and I really want to keep playing it, but I am a little bit apprehensive, and I would say this is not so much a great game, but a good first step. A very solid sort of alpha state proof of concept in a way, but even then the concept that it's proving is what happens when you smash two original ideas together and just sort of force them in together. And the result is you're going to have fun because you enjoyed both the first two ideas, if you follow. Jury's still out if this is actually going to be a good game, and if sort of cramming the Satisfactory automation together with the Planet Crafter, more sort of hands-on mentality will bear fruit and bear out in a final 1.0 project. I'd be very curious to watch this because there is definitely a delineation between the ability to come up with something kind of really original. Let's use Planet Craft for an example. Planet Crafter is actually very clever and original the way that it is constructed fundamentally. The ideas that went into bringing something forth that you hadn't really seen before. And the same can be said for Satisfactory. Obviously they have their foundations that they built upon, but I would argue that they're fairly original. What I see here is someone who has, meticulously and well done, of course, transposed all the good parts from those games into this game. I suppose if you want to be base and almost vulgar, they've just copy-pasted the mechanics. They understand the mechanics, they understand what's so good about those two games that I'm talking about and the other inspirations, and they've just jammed them all together into this one game cleanly, successfully. Like, I didn't have any issues running it. It's got a pretty good feedback loop. My little area's terraforming, arguably probably too fast. I'm in a bloody wooded forest now at 2 hours in, which is a bit wild. And there's you can see sulfur burning lakes and fiery hills in the distance. I don't know. Terraforming is still edge of sci-fi, obviously, but that might be a bit beyond the pale. But even like the sort of rudimentary automation that's here, it all works fairly well. But it's all stuff we've seen before. What is this really doing that's original other than mixing different ingredients together to see what sort of cake comes out in the oven? So yeah, and look, I honestly am not trying to be harsh or cruel or anything like that or down on the game. I can't deny that I enjoyed it because I'm enjoying being on the edge of these genres as they sort of explode out. And all things terraforming, I'm a sucker for. That is my Achilles heel when it comes to genres that I will love. Like an actual example that sort of reinforces my concerns is the sort of automation uptake When should you be automating? And honestly, where I am right now, the grind is starting to become a little bit on the nose, to the point where I feel the obligation to start automating some of my throughput. For the most part, I've just got miners pulling ore out of the ground, and I've got like maybe a smelter or two turning them into bars. But generally speaking, I'll just run out and grab the ore or the quartz or whatever it is that it pulled out of the ground and bring it back to handcraft everything. There's like lots and lots and lots of different little bits and pieces, and they're cool, right? You got, computers made up and out of parts, and, rubber and filters and gears, all sorts of little bits and bobs. And if you were to compare it to, say, Satisfactory, way more in the early going. See, Satisfactory understands what its loop is, and the kind of point, the feedback, is that if you are handcrafting much at all in Satisfactory, you're kind of doing it wrong. You have to start somewhere, but you really want to quickly transition from handcrafting bits and pieces into creating a production chain for absolutely everything. Every second that you are spending ding, 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 ding on the little crafting bench in Satisfactory is kind of a testament to you misstepping on your automation throughput. In a way, right? This is broadly speaking. Whereas in this game, I've been on the tools the whole time making lots of different things. And it's been fun. It's been closer to a survival crafter for the most part, making all the little components. But now, since it's sort of conditioned me for 2 hours to go around and build, 3 parts here or 2 parts there, which was a cool little loop on its own, now it's turned the lever right up where it's saying, well, now you have to build 50 or 100 or whatever. So the Satisfactory throughput is now being pushed in, but I feel like the nuance to the gameplay design, or whatever you would like to call it, the flow state that you find yourself in is actually kind of being disrupted. And now it kind of feels like, hey, you had me doing an interesting and fun loop, building little cogs or bits and bobs one at a time, iron rods as it were, but now you're trying to force me into a different gameplay loop, into Satisfactory, and it doesn't feel organic. Where Planet Crafter kind of stays with it all the way through, go out, pick up shit, make stuff, go on. And Satisfactory very early slaps you on the wrist, as it were, and says, stop building things manually because we're going to make everything cost 500 copper reels, 10 minutes into the game. This example that I'm going on about, to me, sort of really puts a magnifying glass over this game and makes you realize that I don't know if they're necessarily doing something clever or innovative here, more so that they're just jamming together the mechanics they enjoyed from their favorite games and kind of hoping it works, as opposed to having some plan before how they were going to make it work. And that's the missing piece of the puzzle in this game. That's the third component, where the developer would have some sort of visionary that I can't see, but they can see, third step by going, all right, well, if we put Satisfactory automation together with terraforming, hands-on Planet Crafter, we will then have this third new gameplay emergent mechanic that people can't see, but I can see, and that's how I'm going to get in front of the industry. That's what should be happening here, and I don't think it is. And that's why, as much as I've enjoyed it and been up on my time with this, I do just wonder if it is tantamount to something like, not to be disparaging, but like an asset flip. I don't think it's mean-spirited, but I don't know if it's necessarily thought through. Anyway, look, this is just me sharing my thoughts from my time with my hands on it. If a game is broken or shit or whatever, it's quite easy to just call out. But I do really wonder, and if I was going to try and really dot point blurb it, I feel like this is just an enthusiastic fan of those two games. They like those mechanics. They've thought, why don't I put them together? Not the other way around of, here's a really good idea for me to put them together. So you might get limited fun out of it, at least in its current state, and I have. But I really do wonder if maybe the dev is 4D chessing it and they have some direction they're going to take this to make it the next big game, or if this is it. I suppose time will tell, and we should keep an eye on it. Anyway, team, I might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.